Hi, I'm Abby Drane, President and CEO of Bellwood and Brooklawn and Seven County Services. And I'm just really happy that you've joined us today for our conversation. I'm having a conversation with Keith Inman today. And Keith, can you introduce yourself, give us a little background?
Well, I'm Keith Inman. I'm president of Kosair Charities, and I've been fortunate to be in that role for a little over 4 years. And we're here. I had an organization that is 98 years old, and in our entire history, we've had one mission, and that is to help children reach their full potential. So I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored, as always, to be with you, Abby.
Yeah, same here, Keith. And at Seven County Services, we've been delivering behavioral health and addiction and intellectual disability services since the 70s. And really, that was enacted by a federal legislation that said, let's get people off institutional-like settings and get them served back out in their community, closer to their families and support systems, and really take the care to them. And Bellwood and Brooklawn, they've been around for 170 years. And I love to tell the story about them, people moving west on wagon trains and boats along the Ohio, and just with their horses and their family and their buggy, taking that great risk to move west. And when they'd stop along the Ohio River in Louisville to restock all their supplies so they could make it the rest of that journey. And when they got here, some of them drank the water and got cholera, and it was bad water back then, and a lot of people got sick, and they left a lot of children in the care of faith-based organizations. So United Church of Christ came around from the German Protestant Orphans Asylum. That was what it was called, and that was the United Church of Christ. And then the Presbyterians came to Bellwood. And so depending on what your faith background was or the language maybe you spoke, people stepped up from the community and created these longstanding organizations that we're still working with today. We know we still have the same problems today with children being orphaned or their parents ending up in circumstances where they can't take care of them. And then we step up at Bellwood and Brooklawn and provide that high-level residential services where kids stay with us up to a year or more, or our foster care system where we have either therapeutic foster care or regular foster care, those kids that maybe don't need therapy at that point in time. So we also do independent living, and we help kids transition to independence. So really proud to be in this work with Keith Inman and Kosair Charities. And, we've worked together for years. I just had my grandkids on the Brooklawn campus again last week, and they noticed the statue. So I got to tell them the whole story about the statue and the little girl, and that I met that she's, an older woman now, my age, probably older. And I met her a few years ago at the annual Kosair Charities event. And it was so inspiring, and to be able to share that history and those stories and the wealth of work that is done in our community by my friends. So thank you so much for what you all do.
Well, no, it's an honor to be able to do it. That statue is called the Silent Messenger. And the tagline that goes with it is no man stoops so high as when he bends over to raise a child. And the story of that was, she was a young girl and walking across a field with her crutches and having a hard time. And this Shriner picked her up, and a picture was taken, and now it's an iconic picture. But, we have about 24 of those around the community and growing. And those are where you see that, A, it's a safe place, and B, it's a place where Kosair Charities has made a significant investment, much like we have with Seven Counties in Bellwood and Brooklawn. And, our relationship goes back easily 20 years, probably a lot longer than that, but and just a lot of financial resources to help your population, which are some of the most fragile kids in our community. And we're honored to do it. And And Abby, I mean, you've made most of that happen because, and you know, we invest in people, and that's why we invest in 7 counties and Bellwood and Brookline, is because of your leadership.
Well, I appreciate that. And, I'm excited to bring my kids back, my grandkids back, and tell them the rest of that story, and to point out those statues across our community, because the work is so deep and so broad and so important. And, our campus wouldn't be there today without Kosair Charities. So thank you so much. And let me dive on in. Here we are. It's 2021, almost October. I've got my orange on here to celebrate in advance. And we're back finding ourselves in almost a worse situation now than we had last year in our state, not only with COVID, but we have so many youth and children that are impacted by, their parents being stressed, the schools being shut down, just the anxiety of what we've been through. So what are you seeing, Keith, with the families that Kosair Charities is serving, and just out in the community in general?
Well, we're just seeing it's a mess, and it's worlds colliding almost, because you spoke about COVID, and COVID has been horrible. It's just been horrible. And Abby, it was about a year ago when we were, doing the same thing here, and we thought we were kind of on the way out. And we know, of course, know now that we're not out. But you talk about the stress that it's putting on families and individuals, and it's causing primary stress, secondary stress. We know that from our physician friends that are involved in abuse and neglect, that we're seeing more kids present in the ER with injuries that are attributed to abuse and neglect. We're seeing more torture, if you can just believe that, where kids are being tortured. And it's a lot of things. It's people that are having children who aren't prepared to be parents. It's COVID, it's loss of work, it's loss of income, it's stress, it's rent, it's a lot of things, but it all contributes. And then when you add on, the violence that's in our communities and in our state, it's almost a double whammy here, because kids are scared. They walk around scared. They're growing up scared. And if you're scared, you can't learn, and you can't take care of yourself. So we're just seeing a lot of things out there that are all contributing to and have a negative effect on our children. I've been criticized a little bit because I've said that all of our kids in Kentucky right now are special needs kids. And what I mean by that is the influences that are affecting their lives all cause them harm, but it's creating fear. And our kids are unhealthy. They're having mental health issues. Then you throw in abuse and neglect and yada, yada, yada. It just keeps on getting worse. So I'll stand behind my comment that all of our kids need love and support. And in some form or another, they have special needs. So that's what I mean by that.
Yeah, and you think about those ACE scores, adverse childhood incidents, exposures, experiences. It's going to be double that when we come out of this, of what the children have experienced. And we haven't even started talking about the older kiddos, this addictions that have so impacted the adults in our areas, and have always, young people have always tried to experiment, but we've had over a 50% increase in suicides just in the same population, adults and everybody. But we've had a 90% increase in overdose deaths among our young people, and then the numbers even go up from there if you look at our you look at our populations of color. So don't know if you've seen the overdose deaths, if you keep up with that in our children, and the suicides, this stress and this anxiety that's on them from what's happening in our community. You mentioned it. It's COVID. It's a violence. It's the addiction issues going out of hand. What are you seeing with your kids through Kosair?
Well, we're seeing the same thing. I mean, we're seeing the same thing, Abby. And just think about this. Just think about this. One of our physicians over in Lexington at UK was telling me a story the other day that a young boy, 10 years old, killed himself. Now, and he killed himself because that was the best outcome that he could see. He was a victim of abuse. He was in obviously an abusive environment. There were drugs and a lot of other things, and he saw that killing himself was the best alternative. Now, I'm not sure I could think that way at 10 years old. Right? I mean, I was thinking about running down to the creek and catching crawdads and things like that. So how bad is it out there that a 10-year-old young boy, sees death as the best outcome? That's the environment, our kids.
We need to ask ourselves, when we're young, we try to protect our children, or we're protected from some of these stories. But Keith, you and I both know that if we don't listen and not close our eyes to this and open up where we can, whether it be financially or physically by coming in and helping or speaking out, I mean, there's lots of things we can do in our own community to make sure that the adults take care and take responsibility for the children in our community. And so, we look to ways that we can look to our neighbors and watch out for them. We always say, I like to say we're our neighbor's keeper and we should keep an eye on them. It's hard to do, but we have to step up and be the strong ones right now. So you thought of other ways in our community we can step up and be those strong adults here for our kids.
And Abby, you make a great point, and it gets missed, but it's an adult's responsibility to take care of children. Now, if you don't have the ability to take care of a child, then other adults have to assume that responsibility. And, as we've grown up, and some people say that maybe I haven't grown up, but as we've grown up, our world has changed. Used to be, you knew every neighbor on your block, in your neighborhood, you knew your neighbors. And because of life now, we live in an environment that we don't know our neighbors so much. And we're we kind of build walls from our neighbors. But I think now we need to look back and almost go back to what we learned in kindergarten. But is we have to be our neighbor's keeper, and we have to be involved. And if we see something that's not quite right, you need to talk about it. You need to be able to report it. And what's the worst thing that could happen if you're wrong? You have to apologize. Right. But what if you're right and you don't do anything, and that 10-year-old boy chooses to kill himself? I was watching something on the news the other day talking about baby boxes. And imagine that, baby boxes, right? And I forget the community that it was in, but they put their first one in because a few weeks ago they found a baby in a garbage can, And thank God that we have communities and community leaders that are putting baby boxes in and trying to help these kids. Because if a parent is not able to care for a child, then hopefully that parent will be able to make the decision to put it in a baby box, take it to a hospital, take it to a fire station, take a child to a police station and just say, I can't, take it to an emergency room. I can't do this anymore. Right. I need help. And when that happens, I know that people like you, Abby, and in 7 counties and Bellwood and Brookline will step in and protect that child. We
Absolutely.
also know that a child in this environment will spend about $4 million more in their lifetime with healthcare costs than somebody who's not. So now all of a sudden, the state has a multi-trillion-dollar problem that if we would, also a human tragedy issue, but if we would just say, okay, it's my responsibility. I find myself, I'm a cook, right? I love cooking, Abby, love cooking. And
I'll be over there about 6 o'clock.
well, come on over. And I find myself going to grocery stores a lot and everything. And invariably, I'll see a mom, sometimes a dad, with 2 or 3 children. And of course, when do children act at their best is when they're in the grocery store, right? And you can just see the stress, and they're reaching out to jerk an arm, and and then I'll kind of walk over and say, man, you just got your hands full. You have got your hands full. Can I help? And in that brief second, you can see that parent take a deep breath and say, no, thank you, I'm okay. Or, yeah, could you help me to my car?
Yeah.
But that's a little thing that I've done. And some people say somebody's going to shoot you someday. Well, if they shoot me, I'm going to be shot for doing the right thing.
I love it.
Right.
I love it, Keith. You have given an example there that I haven't thought of. I always put my grocery cart up, but I don't get involved in those people.
I don't know if it's me or you, Abby, but one of us froze up. There you are, Abby.
Okay, sorry about that.
I don't know. It could be me, but it took guts for me to do it the first time. To reach out to a parent, and you see it in restaurants a little bit too, and I just I always have a big smile on my face to say, hey,
Yeah.
Can I help?
Yeah, that's good, and obviously you don't seem threatening to somebody. It's like a grandpa.
Yeah.
Help. Well, I appreciate you coming and talking about this serious issue, and letting people know in our community that here's some things we're doing. And if there's 1,000 people that watch, there's 1,000 more lives that can be touched out there in our community to get this message across. So, I wanted to close out. Are there any additional things that you'd like to mention, Keith? I know I've got a couple of things.
Well, Abby, I think the theme is we're all in this together, and Kentucky is a state that has a lot of issues, and it's going to take people working together, sitting across the table with each other, and talking about how we can do a better job. With our friends, with people we don't know. The pandemic has shown our weaknesses, and we all have them, but it's really shown how weak Kentucky is in a lot of areas. But it's going to take leaders like you, like me. It's going to take our politicians coming together. It's going to take Republicans. It's going to take Democrats. It's going to take all people sitting around a table saying, we've got to do better, and we can do better. And we have to give people the skills to make a living. And we talk about building wealth. And wealth always means different things to everybody, but we need to give people job skills. We need to give people support to get their lives in order. And we need to watch after our kids. And Kosair Charities has been doing that for, like I said, 98 years, and we're looking forward to the next 98. I wish I could have gotten here sooner because we have just so much more to do. But you know what, with partners like you, Abby, and 7 counties and Bellwood and Brookline, we'll get there, but we have a lot of work to do.
We'll get there. And just, a couple more things I wanted to add. Kosair Charities serves and helps fund lots of programs across our community. So we're not asking you just to give to us. Give wherever you can give, be involved wherever you can be involved. And if that means that you don't have the resources or the time, look to your neighbor and support them always and your family. But it's a beautiful day out there. It's been beautiful here these last couple of weeks, but you know what? We're getting close to the holidays, so I'm going to do a personal campaign request out here. We're trying to raise money to help cover the holiday meals for our children and those that we serve, and we're going to need more than $15,000 this year to provide the food for the kids and families during the holiday season. And we're measuring that off of last year because they're impacted as much this year as they were last year. So please reach out, help support that, and support those nonprofits near you, and support Kosair Charities. Thank you for being with us today. Have a great day.
Thank you.